Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast, episode 1, pre-week 1 predictions and such. We got a couple segments for you, starting us off with a bit of a yap sesh just about some of the light week 1 news. There's not a whole lot to talk about, no performances from last week as there wasn't any games, but we've got a couple of occurrences since episode 0, some possible injuries, holdouts, and stuff, and we'll talk about that for a little bit before getting into a couple of fun segments. Do you want to let them know what those segments will be?
Yeah, so starting off Yap Sesh, and then after we're done with that, we'll get into our initial stock purchases. Quick little refresher, we have a NFL stock segment that we do, and we make the purchases before week 1 because their value will change after week 1. And then after we do our stock purchases, we're going to go ahead, kind of go into our pick'ems, but a little deeper analysis than our usual week-to-week pick'ems because there's not much else to talk about this week than the matchups themselves that we are waiting very anxiously for. A lot of anticipation in the air for the football season to start up. But That'll be the podcast for today, and we can go ahead and start talking about some of these occurrences around the league.
Yeah, starting us off with the Steelers and their decision to start Russ. Obviously, last year we were both big Justin Fields believers.
Fielders, yeah.
Big fielders. Bear leavers, I think is what we called it.
Yes.
I still believe in him. I do think that the Steelers signing Russ, they had to start him. That's just like, you're signing a big name like that, you kind of have to. Mm-hmm. Fields can sit and learn, and then when Russ sucks by week 8, you're throwing Justin Fields to the Wolves.
Week 8? Someone's got some faith in Russ.
No, I've got some faith in the stubbornness of the Steelers. That's what I got faith in.
Enough. They're going to be 0-8, and he's going to be like, all right, Justin, go win me 9 straight. I can't have a losing record again. Never.
And he'll do it. He'll do it. Yeah. They'll figure out a way.
The whole, Russ versus Fields, it was like, yeah, it's going to be Russ. It didn't really matter how they played, preseason or whatever. It just feels like they're going to go veteran first. And then, I'm not going to say I was, really rooting for Justin Fields to get the start in Pittsburgh because it's not like he got a better offensive coordinator. I'm not exactly, he's going to do so much more. No, he's going to regress probably if he ends up starting for an Arthur Smith-led offense.
Yeah. I wonder what his future's like in the league. It's unfortunate that everybody either already has a quarterback or there's enough in the upcoming draft that you'd probably take a gamble on. Some of the college performances this past weekend as well, we saw that were pretty interesting. And guys like Jalen Milroe will probably get a chance over Justin Fields, and guys like Shadur Sanders probably will as well. And when you look at the rosters, and there's really only 3 or 4 teams maybe that don't have an answer at quarterback right now, or don't have at least have a possible answer, it's unfortunate for talented guys like Fields.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely we'll say a talent gap between Fields and the more elite passers in the league. He would have needed a more running styled Lamar based offense, and there's a reason that there's only one Lamar that we can point to. It's not a widespread scheme that's popularized. It's going to be very scarce. I could definitely see him being a backup to Lamar in that'd
be terrifying. Yeah. Throw him in the Ravens offense. Oh my God. Or I could also see him being like Josh Dobbs last year, where he's
journeyman.
Not necessarily a journeyman, just like last season where he's traded from a team that loses their starting quarterback that might have the potential to be decent. So they're like, well, he's better than our current backup, and he's better than any other backups in the league. He's kind of that tier between certified starter and certified backup. He's in that little, we'll call it purgatory.
You think it happens where in a few years he gets Sam Darnold into a starting job for a random team?
I think there's a better chance he gets Geno Smith into a starting job for a team. I think he's close.
I like our two different
Two different
just
Jets quarterbacks.
using a name as a verb 2 different times.
It's
Two
easier
different
than
meanings. I love
explaining the
that.
scenario. Y'all know what
Yeah.
we mean when we say, like Geno Smith, where, maybe a mediocre to bad start in the league, and then all of a sudden you've got some potential. Get the right
Whoa.
coordinator around you.
Who started over Geno? All right. And outside of that, do you want to move to some of these, contract disputes kind of going on?
Yeah, we got Jamar Chase possibly in a holdout. There's no guarantees about that, but he's been showing up to practice in street clothes, not in his jersey or anything, so he's not actively practicing. Obviously, their start to the season is 6 days away. Like, it's getting close, and I'm sure that the Bengals are going to want Jamar Chase out there for them. I don't think they would, be super okay without their number one receiver, despite having, decent depth. But yeah.
So you think it's going to lean more to like the Bengals actually offering out an extension to him?
I don't know. I really don't like.
I feel like this is more of a bluff, and it's like Jamar's just going to have to play this year because he can't sit out, the 2 years he's still... It's 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's 2 years still.
Yeah. It's like he can't sit out 2 full years and expect to come out of that with any, like, value. No one's going to shill out the $30 million to Jamar Chase after he sat for 2 years and did nothing. Like, I think this is just a bluff because of all the giant contracts that have come, and then it's going to be, all right, well, got to go to work and just play this whole year.
I'm wondering 2 things. One, I mean, the way that the coach has talked about it, Zach Taylor, right? The way that he's talked about it has been much more of like a, coach knowledge going up, baby.
Let's go. Coach's name.
But the way that they've talked about it is definitely much more of like, well, we don't really know what's going on, than it is like, it'll be fine. There's not like a reassurance. There's like a, we don't.
And, we know I feel like if it's like, oh, we're trying to negotiate with his agent, there'd be more than like a, we don't know what's up with him.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that he probably will end up playing this year. But I also wonder if if it, like you said, is a bluff from like all sides, where they're like, Jamar, we're going to give you an extension. We just don't want you to get hurt before this season. So stay out of practice for a little bit. We'll pretend you're not playing. And then teams maybe aren't preparing for you. And then, whoa, he's playing. And then,
Yeah. I mean,
it's not likely at all.
I don't see like any other result really. Like, I don't see him being traded as a result of like, oh, you better trade me. Someone else better pay me. Or like, it's not going to go that far. So I just don't understand the purpose of it. Like, why would he do this?
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's kind of like the the whole Ayuk like besmirching the entire like organization, saying all these other places you want to go, and then like, oh, I'll stick around actually, guys, don't worry. just joking, just joshing. And also, wasn't the Ayuk extension this past week?
Yeah, it was. I think we were still kind of questioning if that was going to happen. So it did happen. Ayuk is staying in San Francisco, and I think that had to happen, because I don't think you can trot out with Debo as your 1 and Jawan Jennings as your 2.
And recently injured Ricky Pearsall.
Recently shot Ricky Pearsall. Yeah. Shout out to
Poor
him.
Guy.
Shout out to him. There is lighthearted banter, but seriously, he did get shot.
Yes, and he did miss vital organs. So thank goodness for that.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, I think that the 49ers are way better off with Ayuk. I think that Ayuk plus any other quarterback is better than Purdy plus not Ayuk. If that makes sense. I think that he's...
Yeah, if he was a 2 anywhere else, or rather even just being a 1 somewhere else.
Well, I think more that Purdy is the replaceable part of that offense, where Ayuk kind of isn't.
Gotcha. I see what you mean.
And I'm not saying Purdy's bad. I just think that you can grab a quarterback in the second round, or even in the tail end of the first. I'm just not projecting them to be like a top 10
or even at the
pick,
end of the 7th.
Evidently. Yeah, just do that again, guys. Have another 4 years because you know how to draft at the end of the 7th. But yeah, I don't know. I think that they must have looked at everything on paper and been like, okay, what's the replaceable part of this offense? Is it Ayuk? They came to the conclusion Ayuk is not replaceable. Let's just pay him. And then they did.
And while we're talking about the 49ers, you can go ahead. You were starting I took it from you. Go ahead.
It's okay. We were just same wavelength.
Yeah.
Staying on the 49ers though, Trent Williams is in a contract holdout right now, and he may miss some games because he's not happy with the situation. And I've got a stat that I need to pull up. I told myself I would have it pulled up, but luckily
you lied to yourself. So you're untrustworthy.
Luckily for me, I'm quick with it. So per Scott Barrett DFB on Twitter, I don't follow him, but I do see his tweets from time to time. Brock Purdy last year, with Trent Williams healthy, he had 28 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Without Trent Williams, he had 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions.
Sheesh.
So
that's tough.
I think, I think Trent Williams is a big part of that.
You should protect the blind side.
And I think they should pay him, and I think they need to.
We can get into some of these week 1 injury, quick little injury reports, because we're not going to go over everybody. We're going to go over who stood out to us. And do you know of any that are standing out to you? Because I know like the injuries from the Chiefs and the Lions matchups, basically, and then the holdout stuff
do you
going
know,
on.
I actually am curious. Do you know about Jahmyr Gibbs? Is he poised to start week 1?
Dan Campbell said that he's not worried about him like missing the game. Ifeatu Melifonwu, Sam Laporta, and Jahmyr Gibbs were all kind of like labeled questionable, I think.
Yeah.
And he went and said to the media that the only one he's worried that might miss time is going to be Melifonwu and not the other 2. So it seems that Jahmyr Gibbs has been trending good.
I'm just thinking, so full transparency, the only questionable players that I really notice are on my fantasy lineups, so or on the Patriots. But at this point, I'm not super concerned with what the Patriots are doing because I just know it's going to be losing. So I'm not
injured or not. Kendrick Bourne, you're still losing. Yeah.
But I know Tyreek Hill was questionable. So was Jalen Waddle, and they're both slated to play. So those are the only real big question marks that I've got.
I know that Hollywood Brown is trending to missing the game, and for the Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was placed on the non-injury PUP list, basically. So he's probably going to be battling PTSD, I presume, is the cause of that placement. And he'll be out with that for as long as that takes.
I completely forgot that happened, but yeah.
Who else? I know that I don't think the Rams have their tackle coming back. I don't know the tackle's name, but I'm pretty sure he's poised to miss the matchup against the Lions. Any others?
I was just going to say, speaking of CEH, what is your thoughts on Samaje Perine? Because he's kind of going to be that receiving back replacement and the third down back in KC.
Hot take. No, actually, I don't want to say that as he's dealing with PTSD. I'm going to go ahead and just praise Samaje Perine. I think that he will have a good role for as long as CEH is out.
Okay.
And if maybe outperform what CEH might have done. And that is the extent that I will punch down on that man. Sorry about it.
Valid. I don't really have any other injury reports to get to. Do we want to go over some of our favorite guys and teams this season that we're really looking forward to seeing play? Yeah,
you start us off, and I'll go. Well,
go based on the vibe that I got that I give.
Go one after the other. I probably can think of like 2 to 3 that aren't my actual teams I'm rooting for here.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, if you've never watched us before, if this is the first episode you're catching, I'm a Patriots fan, he's a Lions and Chiefs fan. The team I'm really looking forward to watching this year, and I mean week 1 just to see how it's going, but is the Cardinals. I'm really looking forward to seeing a fully healthy Kyler Murray. Last year he came back like halfway through the season, and still I don't think was his full self. I think he still had some recovering to do. And I think now that he's got a full offseason or a full healthy offseason under the new coaching staff, I think there's something to look forward to there. Trey McBride, obviously, a big breakout candidate, and then they got Marvin Harrison Jr. So I have that Kyler and McBride stack in my fantasy leagues as much as I can. But I'm actually looking forward to seeing how they perform, because Kyler's fun to watch when he's playing well.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy play, the highlight reel plays he can make he's definitely been in a handful of like the game of the year candidates, you watch it and it's finishing and you're like, oh my God, that's got to be the best football game this week, basically, because there's always one. There's almost one weekly that hits that kind of, shine to it. But my team that I'm really looking forward to, if you've followed the channel at all, it's a little predictable, especially after some talk last episode, but definitely the Colts. Anthony Richardson coming back healthy. Adonai Mitchell, Liatu Latu, I have scouting reports up on them. I was big fans of them and their tape. So I like the coaching staff there too. So the, progression into year 2 for Anthony Richardson mentally, because, he had his, injury. So physically he hasn't been working that whole time since, but he's going to be better mentally. And I'm really excited to see how their offense kind of gels together. And how often they might be running him, considering, we don't want him to get blasted. We don't want him to get hurt like last year. So we'll see how much they try to be conservative and protect him.
Yeah, reports had him at like 250 pounds this offseason. Like, he put on weight, bulked up, and I think that's going to be really fun to watch out there. That's bigger than Cam Newton at his peak.
At his MVP.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to see how fast he still is, and if he's actually put on that weight, or if it's like Keenan putting on 15 pounds that just didn't happen. Yeah, I guess another team that I'll shout out as one that I want to see is, okay, I'm not going to say that I'm going to be rooting for this team, that they're my new team, because whoa, they're so good, but I am looking forward to seeing the Ravens play and how Derrick Henry and Lamar look in that offense. I've been a Derrick Henry fan for a good while now. I think probably better part of 5 or 6 years that I've been like, man, he's pretty neat. Unless
You've been a big Lamar Jackson guy too. You defended that running back through thick and thin.
Two-time motherfucking MVP.
Not bad for a running back.
Not bad for a running back. Okay, maybe 5 or 6 years is a bit of a stretch. I think probably since 2020 when he had his 2,000-yard season. Wow, shocker! I was a fan of him when he ran for 2,000 yards, but no, I don't know. I've liked his highlight reels. I think it's hard to not like his highlight reels, and he's just a fun player to root for.
Yeah, my next team that I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how they gel together this season is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. They made so big of an effort to make that team good after banishing Desmond Ridder and Arthur Smith to the Shadow Realm. So, I was always a fan of Kirk Cousins. The Vikings decided to move off of him and let him go get paid somewhere else. So now I'm a fan of the Falcons. I don't have to not be a fan of the team because they're a division rival. So I can be a fan of the team of Kyle Pitts and, all of the offensive weapons they have there, Bijan, and Kirk Cousins is there. So that's a nice little Coles. You can't say it
lunch
again.
Pail guy.
Yep.
nice lunch pail guy to root for.
Yeah. So that's another team I'm definitely looking forward to. They're in a very weak division, so I imagine they'll be able to dominate that division.
Yeah. I have a bit of an honorable mention. I know you said you might as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Jaguars as a team that we focused on this offseason, made a few videos about. I'm interested to see how they're going to do. I'm always rooting for Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence. I want Trevor Lawrence to pan out and be really good because he's shown flashes, and I just think he's got to get to a point where he can put it all together.
Yeah. I've kind of been on the opposite side since we did that. I'm like, man, they really got to just, it's not them that's the fault. They got to figure out everything else, the offensive line, the coaching.
Yeah.
So hopefully they do. But yeah, I'm a little wary. I don't want to root for them because I feel like they're not going to do great.
Yeah, I know. Last season, I was real high on him. I think I had him going like 15-2. That's why we didn't do the overall record predictions this time around.
Yeah. My honorable mention is the Miami Dolphins. For really no reason other than, like, Tua seems like a nice guy and he got overhated for a long time. So I really just want to root for his nice little good guy mentality.
Got over it, buddy. He's still getting overhated. Like,
All right. Well, that's why I'm supporting him then. I'm supporting
there
him
you
in
go.
this ongoing effort to get over the the allegations that he's trash, we'll say.
The mid allegations.
All
Yeah.
right. You want to kick us off with the stocks and their rules?
Yeah. Let's get into NFL stocks. Flash the graphic. And we're gonna start this out by going over some of the rules and regulations. This is just gonna be I wouldn't say brief overview, but it's gonna be an overview of all of the different things that can happen, how it's set up, and all of that good stuff. We did this last season as well, so I do highly recommend checking out the first couple episodes of last season's podcast, just because we did go over these rules. I have adjusted what we needed to adjust to make it apply to this year, because there were some examples that I used for last year that just wouldn't work. But some of the basic information. So as just a concept, the stock market is that each team has a value to them based on their record. Now, team values to start off the season is their win percentage plus $50 per playoff win, rounded up to the next 25. So, for example, because it's easier to give you an example than to try to explain that again, the Lions' win percentage last season was .706. They had 2 playoff wins, which adds 100, and that rounds up to 825. The Bengals' win percentage last season was .529. They had no playoff wins. That rounds up to 550. So it makes it easier for us if we don't have to deal with a bunch of random numbers, and we can do it even on 25s. So that's why we do that. And then the playoff wins add some money to it. And this is all obviously fake money, not real. Big disclaimer. This is not real money. In the first season, we each started off with $1,500 to work with. In subsequent seasons, we weren't sure if we were going to be adding money to the total, if we were going to be losing money, or if we were just going to be working with the current bank and what we got from season 1. We are not going to be adding any money, so it is just what we made season 1. Elijah is sitting at $3,100, and I am sitting at $3,200. So we both had some nice
Squeaked it out of me,
success. we had really nice success. Both of us just about doubled our money in one season, which I think is really good, and I hope that continues. So members of the stock market will be able to buy stock in a team during the first episode of the podcast. That is this episode. So this is the buying period. Then the market will close completely until after week 4 of NFL action. During that time, between this episode airing and week 4 of the NFL concluding, there will be no selling and no buying. So the stocks are locked in for that amount of time. You are not required to spend all of your money during the initial purchase period, but are encouraged to use at least half of the allotted funds to keep things entertaining. Teams with 0 wins will not be free after regular season week 4. These teams will have a base rate of $100 per share. So during season 1, we were restricted to 1 share of a team per member in the initial buying period. That has now been increased to 2 in the initial buying period. We doubled our money, we doubled the cap. So, for example, Elijah can buy 2 shares of the Lions. Gabe can also buy a share of the Lions. Elijah cannot buy another share of the Lions in the initial buying period. Then, last season, after the market opened, which was after regular season week 4, the limit was increased to 3 shares per team per member. This is not the case this year. Instead, the market will open after the conclusion of regular season week 4, and the 2 share cap will remain. It won't stay for the whole season. After regular season week 6, the cap will be increased to 5 shares per team per member, and that will remain for the rest of the entire season. So we had a gradually increasing last season. Now it's going to be 2 at the start, 5 after week 6, and then run with it from there. The purchase limits last year served the purpose of keeping us from losing all our money, as well as keeping us from making too much too quickly. This year, they're just kind of in place to keep structure. We kind of know what we're doing with the money we know to keep enough, because we are starting out with more. Then the last thing we got to talk about is day trading. In the regular stock market, it's a thing. In this stock market, it's kind of a thing. There's no like live real-time updates to the values of stocks, so it's not exactly the same, but basically it would be buying up one or more shares of a team and selling it the week after you buy it. So it's not strictly prohibited, but it will be frowned upon in certain settings. For example, during the podcast recording before week 11, Matt maxes out his shares of the Rams stock at 5 before they play the Patriots. Then, during the week 12 recording, he sells off all 5 of those shares after they pick up one win. That's frowned upon. But something like Matt fully believing the Ravens are going to beat the Bengals in week 10, but not so sure about them beating the divisional rival, the Steelers, in week 11, he buys a couple shares of the Ravens stock before the Bengals victory, or before the Bengals game, they win, and he sells them. That's not so frowned upon because you are taking a risk. It's not buying up stock of a team that is practically guaranteed to win and then selling it before they have a semi-difficult matchup, if that makes sense. That was a lot of information, but yeah, that's it. That's the stock market. And like I said, I am starting with $3,200. Elijah is starting with $3,100. Matt is our mutual friend. You may see him join an episode of the podcast at some point this season. Ideally,
you'll also maybe see him in the comments rooting for the Broncos every single time.
Yeah, no, that's not a maybe. You will see him in the comments rooting for the Broncos every single time. If you've ever seen the single Broncos fan in America, that's him. Nobody else, just Matt. So did you want to kick us off and start making your stock moves first?
I will make the inaugural season 2 stock purchase. And my purchase, I'm thinking, is gonna... The first one I'm most confident in is the Chargers. I want to purchase 2 of the Chargers stock at the start of this year. So as they run at $300 a piece, that will be costing me a total of $600 on my 2 stocks.
So I also had that down as a move I wanted to make. It was the last one I had written down, but I'll go ahead and just match that right now. We'll also go with Chargers, 2 of them.
You know, I started off with a cheaper option. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bounce up and spend a little tiny bit of money on a more expensive option. I'm going to go with the Falcons at $425. Just talked about it. Weak division. I like the moves they made. So at $425, I'm going to purchase 2 stocks, hit that new ceiling that we have there as opposed to the 1, and go ahead and buy $850 worth of the Falcons.
There you go. My second move will be picking up 2 shares of the Panthers stock. They are valued at just $125. So even if I decide after the initial buying period they are 0-4, looking awful, have 6 injuries on their offense, their entire defense has just ceased to exist. You know, they didn't exist already, but they've ceased to exist even more. I can sell them off and I'd only lose $50. So it's a pretty safe investment. Next team up, I'm going to be getting a little bit more expensive. I've gotten my 2 cheapest options out of the way. I've got 2 other purchases to make. And the first one is going to be just 1 share of the Bears at $425.
Nice.
And that
Are you a bear lever again?
I am a bear lever again, if you would believe it. If you would bear leave it.
Horrible.
Sorry, guys.
Hate it.
Sorry, you tune in. We don't know why. We never will. 1925 is what I got left over.
Dang, you got gotten through 3 stocks and you got more money than me. All right, well, entering again, roughly more expensive than my Chargers pickup here. I'm going to be buying the Broncos, and that is going to run me $475. Buying 1 share of the Broncos at $475.
Okay. You want to get into the snake draft as well and shout out your next one, or do you have a next one? Or
I do in fact have a next one. Yep, continuing with my now 4th team, not as many stocks as I have, but my 4th team selection, I'm going to be going with a pricey option, priciest yet in fact, with the Packers at the price of $600.
Wow, okay. Interesting choice.
And then that will bring me down to just $575. I took a minor peek at their first starting games. as I've kind of talked over with you and on the podcast, I don't like them. I don't like the Eagles. They open against the Eagles. They then play the Colts. They then play who else? Let me see. The Titans and the Vikings. So through 4 weeks, I like a majority of those matchups. They could be 3-1. That is valued higher than 600.
That's fair. All right, with my final purchase, final team, I'm going to be picking up 2 shares of the Bengals. It is another one that is rather expensive for me at $5.50 a piece, so that's at $1,100 for the 2 shares of the Bengals that I'm picking up. They are opening against my New England Patriots, and oh boy, when I tell you, my New England Patriots are not very good. So I'm going to be ending off the initial purchase period with $825 in the bank account, and I'm going to just leave that there in case my takes are awful, and I go bankrupt after this week and all 4 of these teams open up 0-4.
That'd be
something.
You say that, and that brings some hesitancy to me on if I want to delve deeper into my bank account and leave it at a number under 575. I am. I saved the least for last, and I'm buying 1 purchase of the Panthers. You bought 2. I'm just going to do the 1, and that is going to put me at $450 in my starting bank account after this. And I now hold stocks in 5 different teams, 3 of which I only have 1 stock in, and 2 of them I am doubling up on.
Yeah. So the change from maxing out at 1 share to 2 shares has actually affected how we spend money, and it has made us spend a lot more than we did last season, but also more. We started with more. So
Bengals and Bears is already over our limit of last season. Your 2 purchases at the end there already put you over that cap.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the Panthers a little bit. We both believe in them more than, going defeated again. I don't think they're going to go 0-17. I don't think they're going to be that bad. I think they're in a pretty weak division.
Yeah, they got to squeak some out against people not named the Falcons. It's going to happen.
Yeah, Saints aren't very good. Buccaneers are suspect with Dave Canales leaving. And then Dave Canales happened to leave and go to the Panthers. So quarterback whisperer helping out Bryce Young. Yeah.
Huge jump he could make in year 2.
Yeah. And with that, I believe that ends our stock segment. So if you are here just for the stock segment video, appreciate y'all watching. But if you are here from the podcast, oh buddy, we got our PickEms coming up. So we'll roll the intro for that in a minute. Another new animation that we spent the offseason doing.
Whoop, the whole offseason. Not any procrastination involved in that whatsoever.
Didn't finish it last night. I didn't. I finished it last week. All right. Give me some credit. Yeah, let's roll that PickEms animation. Wow, what a beautiful animation. And the sound effects, my goodness. Peak. Anywho,
let's kick this off with the Thursday night matchup. The season opener, Ravens-Chiefs. Now, I already mentioned some of the missing people for the Chiefs side with CEH and with Hollywood Brown. On the Ravens side, not as many big concerns there. Mark Andrews is expected to be good to go. Who do you have winning this opening matchup of the NFL season?
Well, Chiefs and Lions opened up last year, right? That was the first one where we were real excited because we both picked against the Chiefs and we both got it right, and we were like, we're so good at this whole podcasting thing. It was our second episode. I'm setting up picking the Ravens here, picking against the Chiefs again. It's tough to do, especially at Arrowhead, but I am a bigger fan of the moves the Ravens made than I am the moves of that the Chiefs made. It's tough to say because I don't like that the Ravens let some of their guys walk, like Patrick Queen, but they brought in Derrick Henry, and I just really like that backfield. It's not one that I can bet against, so I'm going to go ahead and take the Ravens here in the season opener. Lamar and Derrick Henry combined for 200 rushing yards. That's my take on it.
Yep, there's a lot of credence to picking the Ravens. The Chiefs aren't super great against the run. The Ravens, who if you go under that assumption of like, okay, the Ravens are going to control the clock, run all over them, and the Chiefs are going to need to score a lot. The DBs of the Ravens are very, very good, and they're going to be missing Hollywood Brown. So I could definitely see this lining up in that favor. However, Mahomes in his career against Lamar Jackson has been the frequent winner of those games. It's also at home, and I don't think they're going to want to lose it at home, even more so than they did last season against the Lions. They don't want to hang the banner and lose again. So I am going to be going with the Chiefs. Although I do think that the Ravens have a very good chance of winning, I do think that the Chiefs are just going to really try to outmuscle them, and they need to perform in the run game to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
Just straightforward.
The only thing that I'm worried about for the Chiefs is if Travis Kelce is going to stay at the level of play that he's had. It kind of petered off last season to not being super elite until the playoffs, which of course that's when it matters most. So him performing in the playoffs was huge. But I'm worried that he might start out slow. And if that happens, who are they using to get their yards? But either way, that's going to be an amazing matchup to watch. No matter what happens, it's going to be a great game, and it's going to really just set off the string of hating bad matchups for the rest of the season because we're starting out with peak.
Only like 3 days, almost on the hour of recording. Man.
Yeah.
So excited.
Yeah,
All
no
right.
kidding. All right, next matchup.
Next
Getting to the Packers versus the Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is a game that is technically an Eagles home game, which just kind of sucks for them because they are far from home. You know, shout out Tom Holland and shit.
Horrible.
Thank you. I tried. I'm taking the Packers in this one. I don't know why. It's just got a feeling, man.
I went ahead and I put my brainworm of the Eagles are going to be bad this year right into your brain. And so you're doubtful on them. And
I just think they're going to be off to a slow start. That's the only, I think that the Packers DBs are suspect.
The coaching might,
so,
pick up as the Eagles season goes on. But
yeah, I think also the comfortability of Jalen Hurts calling the offense where Jason Kelce was before, I think that will ramp up. But just to start out, it might be a shock for them, especially away from Philly. And who knows, maybe they just come out of the gates and they're like, well, everybody's off their game, so let's just run up the score. And somehow, they drop 35 in the first half, and then the Packers are just on their heels the whole game. It's possible, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yep, I'm going to go ahead and match you with the Packers pick. As you can see on the ESPN PickEm, the 76% have picked for the Eagles so far, and that's a high number. That is a high number of people that are going to be wrong come Friday evening. All right, on to the first matchup of, they all run at the same time, but the first quote unquote matchup of Sunday of the Steelers and the Falcons. I kind of have harped on them. I'm going to be taking the Falcons, and Russ, sorry about it. You're not going to be doing too hot.
Yeah, I think that the Steelers find a way to win a lot of games, and it pisses me off every time they do it. But I'm never going to actually say that they're going to win a game because the wins they get are so unpredictable, and how they manage to get a winning record every year is just, it's uncanny. I can never be confident in saying the Steelers are going to win a game. And I think that the Falcons are going to want to prove that signing Kirk was a good decision, and they're just going to have a lot riding on this game, new head coach and all. So I've got the Falcons as well. Yeah, into the Cardinals at the Bills in Buffalo. This may be a hot take, but I got the Cardinals taking this one on the road.
Oh yeah.
I believe in Kyler. I believe in Trey McBride. I believe in Marv. I believe in Dortch the Torch. Shout out Greg Dortch. And I think that the Bills lost too much this offseason on offense and defense for me to be confident in them.
Yeah, they lost so much, and to think that they're going to come out swinging against a very much improved Arizona team, I just don't see it. I'm also going to be going with the Cardinals here.
There you go. Next up, we got the Titans at the Bears. This is the Caleb Williams home debut. This is the revamped Bears team at home against the Titans. I know you're a pretty big Titans believer, a Will Levis man yourself. You know, you like the mayo, as you might say.
Tend to dabble in some mayo, yes.
A Hellman's man himself. Dukes. What's your preference? Anywho, I've got the Bears taking this one. I think that Caleb needs to come out swinging, silence some of the critics, and their moves on offense need to show up. So they need to be able to utilize their two new receivers, their new addition at running back and DeAndre Swift. Their defense has, I don't know if they have any new additions. I don't really pay attention to that side of the ball, but Jalen Johnson's extended and he's good. So we'll take the Bears over the Titans at home.
Yeah, I'll be once again matching your pick. I'm going to be going Bears at home over the Titans. I am definitely I can't say Titan lever, but I'm a Levis lever. There's nowhere we can make this work actually, but I do believe in the Titans.
The Leviser.
Sure. I do love me some Levi's. I think that the Titans are going to make this close and very close, but I don't think that they will come out with the win. The home atmosphere for the Bears and all of the excitement for the Bears is definitely going to rocket this into a real home field advantage, playing an impact role.
Alrighty. Next up, we've got the Patriots going into Cincy to the Bengals. I would love to say that the Patriots are going to win this one. I would love to go against the 97% of people on ESPN picking the Bengals. Unfortunately, I will become a statistic of that 97%. I'm taking the Bengals over the Patriots in week 1. I don't think the Patriots have a competitive team when compared to a team like the Bengals that are going to be vying for the top of the AFC.
There's no debate there.
No.
I can't even try to play devil's advocate for the Patriots here. I am also picking the Bengals. Yeah, you have the knowledge to, but you chose not to, so that just tells me I shouldn't even attempt. So, yeah.
Well, okay. So let's say Jamar Chase doesn't play, then there's an argument to be had. There's a conversation at least to be had if Jamar Chase doesn't play. But that also relies on the Patriots defense playing really well while still losing a couple players, and I'm not confident enough in them to say that. And then obviously it's hinging on a player not playing at all. So there's not a great argument for it. But
yeah.
Do you want to kick us off into the next few matchups?
Yep. With the Houston Texans going on the road to take on the Indianapolis Colts, sorry about it. I'm going to go with the Colts. It's a home game, and I've spoke on end about my excitement that I'm kind of rooting for them this year. So, yeah, I think the Colts will kind of shock this Texans team that was very aggressive in improving around C.J. Stroud. The Colts, they didn't, go above and beyond. They didn't do any big trade or any big acquisitions, but they built around the team that they had, and I like the moves. So I'm going to pick the Colts here to win at home.
Yeah. I could definitely see the Colts winning this. This is one that, divisional matchup at home, there's always a chance. I am still taking the Texans here. I just believe in them a little bit more. I think Stroud has it put together a little bit more than Anthony Richardson, and there's just too many question marks on the Colts roster. It's all hypothetical right now where we know the Texans are good. So I feel more comfortable picking the Texans over the Colts, despite the Colts having such a high ceiling with A.D. Mitchell, with Michael Pittman, with Jonathan Taylor, with Anthony Richardson, with that O-line. If they are all playing to their peaks, that could be the best team in the AFC.
Yep. All right, and into our next matchup of the Jaguars going on the road to Miami Dolphins. A nice little, right down the road, actually. Florida on Florida crime here. And I'm going to be picking Dolphins. I've had my concerns about the offensive line of the Jaguars. The Jaguars were not very good at running the ball, whereas the Dolphins kind of have a two-headed beast. So, yeah, they have a great offense. They can throw, they can run on you. So when they get the chance to run, they're going to just run the clock out. Like, they are going to put the game away easier than if the Jaguars have the lead and they look to try to run the clock and get the game to be put away.
Yeah, so you got the Dolphins there. I'm going to agree with you. I think that they are just a better team than the Jaguars. I'm a Jaguars lever, but it's going to get old at some point. Now is not that point. Yeah, I got Dolphins at home, especially. opening up the season. They've just got better weapons, better team, in my opinion.
All right.
And moving into the Panthers going to New Orleans to play their division rival, the Saints. I've got a bold take here. I got the Panthers in this one. I changed it about 20 seconds ago from the Saints to the Panthers. I think that Canales being there is going to make a bigger impact than most people think. I am fully bought into the QB Whisperer talk where he went to Seattle and Geno had a career resurgence, and he went to Tampa and Baker had a career resurgence, and he's now in Carolina. And I think Bryce Young, I don't know if it's bad enough single year to call it a resurgence, but I think he's going to perform much better than last year. They have more weapons, and I think the Saints just kind of suck. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think the Saints are definitely like a middle of the road kind of team. They're not great. They're not as bad as the Panthers were last year. So it really does just come down to like, the talent level of the squads. So I'm going with the Saints. I'm a Panther lever. But I'm going to be going with the Saints here to, get that opening game rivalry win.
I just want the Saints to lose so that there's a bunch of talk about start Spencer Rattler. I'm here for it. So we'll go with that.
You want chaos. Yeah.
Yeah. I want Twitter to be in a shitstorm. Vikings at Giants. Next matchup up. This matchup sucks. We got the Sam Darnold-led Vikings versus the Daniel Jones-led Giants. And I hope, right? I just want to put this out there. I say a lot of players are trash and that a lot of teams suck. I do hope that every player plays to the best of their ability. Because ultimately, if every player is good, it makes for a more entertaining game. So I really do hope that Daniel Jones ends up getting back to his $40 million a year valuation. Like when he got that contract, I still think it was an overpay, but he was playing at a decently high level before he did that, before they gave him that. I hope he gets there. I'm still taking the Vikings, but I hope he gets there.
Well said.
Thank you. I tried.
Yeah. I'll also be going with the Vikings for this pick. The Giants, doo-doo. Sorry about it. The Giants, I definitely think, could be a team, as you had said, to go winless. And I don't think if they are going to make any, win, I don't think it's going to be because their DBs matched up really well against Justin Jefferson. I don't see that happening. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take the Vikings here. And then onto a rivalry matchup, which starts the 4 o'clock window. We have the Raiders-Chargers at SoFi. It's hard to root against the Chargers because Harbaugh is a winning, we'll say, coaching family. And the Antonio Pierce, yeah, believed in him. But do I believe in their offense as a whole? Really, Devontae being okay with Gardner Minshew's accuracy? I could see that kind of causing a problem later in the year. So I'm not going to have them winning a game early on against a squad that I think is a lot better than them talent-wise.
Yeah, I concur. Chargers over Raiders for sure. I'm not super confident in it because I do think that the team likes Antonio Pierce and Gardner Minshew is a better quarterback than some people give him credit for, but I also just think the Chargers are better. I don't think there's any way around it. Mm-hmm. Despite losing Keenan and Mike Williams. But now we'll get into the Broncos at the Seahawks. You had talked about the Giants corners not necessarily matching up super well against Justin Jefferson. Now the Broncos are starting Riley Moss. For those of you that don't know, this is what he looks like. He's going to be matched up with DK Metcalf. Now, I don't know about you, but you look at DK Metcalf, this guy, and Riley Moss, this guy, and you tell me which one's winning. So I'm taking the Seahawks in this matchup. Go Hawks, and I hope Bo Nix throws 5 picks.
Damn. All right. just crush the boys. The young
Sorry,
boy.
Matt.
He's not old. Um, crush
He's
his
older than me.
confidence immediately. I'm also going to be going Seahawks, although I don't think it's going to be as runaway DK catching it over Riley Moss 14 times in a row for 365 yards.
It's
I
not going to be a
think
Ted
that
McMillan stat line.
the I think that the Broncos are a very good defense, and regardless of who he might particularly be matching up with, they still will cause trouble for the Seahawks offensive. Well, defensively they'll cause problems for the offense, but
Yeah.
I'm still going to be picking the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I think JSN's in for a big season, so if DK does line up with Pat Surtain, then JSN's gonna have a monster game. But if I think DK could go like, I don't know, 5 for 150, 2 touchdowns. I think that's a reasonable stat line for him against I don't know if I call it a weaker secondary because they have Pat Surtain, but I couldn't name another guy in that secondary aside from Riley Moss because he's Riley Moss.
Right.
We get into the Cowboys heading to Ohio, to the Browns, to Cleveland, the land. I've got the Cowboys in this one. It could go either way, but I'm just anti Deshaun Watson, and so that is what's making the decision for me.
You make such a valid point. I had originally thought, oh, this is going to be the Cowboys. And I was like, the Browns had a really good defense. You then brought up Deshaun Watson. So I'm flipping. I'm going to go back to the Cowboys on this pick as well. The Cowboys somehow always manage to win a lot of games in the regular season. The Browns, let's not say that they have that historical record behind them. So I'll go ahead and pick the Cowboys over the Browns.
Yeah. I think that the Browns defense is very good. I think that a Deshaun Watson-led Browns offense is suspect at best, and the Cowboys defense is also pretty good with Trayvon Diggs coming back as well. So,
Sure. Yeah. On to another matchup that involves a team from the NFC East. The Commanders facing off against the Buccaneers. I got the Buccaneers in this one. We've kind of talked about how they had some, they lost Canales and they have had some talent walk away from the team. That does not even close to make them equal to the Washington Commanders in my eyes. The Commanders just kind of feel like a top-down organization that isn't very good, despite being a fan of Jaden Daniels and thinking that he will do good. I don't think he's gonna, separate the talent gap all by himself.
I also have the Buccaneers. I agree with you there, but this is an upset watch game for me. I could very well see the Commanders winning it if Jaden Daniels comes out hot and him and Terry McLaurin have a good relationship
Connection.
and they chemistry's there. I think that they could take this one. I think losing Dave Canales was bad for the Seahawks, and I'm worried that it's going to be equally bad for the Buccaneers, where they might take a slight step back. And if that does happen, then maybe it's week 1 when they're getting used to a new OC, but we shall see.
Yeah. On to the next matchup of the Sunday night football game. Rams playing at Lions. Once again, a rematch of the playoffs. I'm a homer. I'm going to go Lions here. I think that the injuries on the offensive line for the Rams have really piled up. I think they may have their guard back. Their tackle doesn't seem to be coming back, and they have another tackle in IR. So they are weak on that front, where we have like a brand new interior D tackle who will be getting some pressure alongside Aiden Hutchinson. So I think that the pass rush is going to be a thing to watch here, as the Rams don't have that protection for Matthew Stafford. And our offense is all seemingly geared to come back pretty healthy. Picking the Lions.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. I'll take the Lions at home over the Rams. I think that it could be a very close game. I think the Rams are going to be very good this year, but I don't think they take this one against the Lions. And then last matchup of the week, Monday Night Football, Jets at Niners, Aaron Rodgers' debut in primetime. Let's hope he doesn't tear another Achilles. I've got the 49ers in this one. I don't think it's going to be like a runaway game by any means. I think especially if Trent Williams isn't out there, could go the Jets way, but I like the 49ers defense a lot more than the Jets offense. So, and then obviously Rodgers' history with the 49ers, so they're not going to lose to him.
I am going to go ahead and pick the man. Threw a wrench in my plans with Shanahan's shout out there. I was gonna go Jets because of Trent
do you
Williams.
remember my record last season versus your record last season? Maybe don't pay attention.
I do know mine was better. You are correct. I think I'm looking at ESPN right now. 10 people have picked the Jets. I'm gonna pick the Jets.
Eesh.
I believe in that
Okay.
as an underdog pick. Yeah, I will gladly do that.
As a Patriots fan, also, I just always believe the Jets are going to jet, and they're going to just suck somehow. So I'm
always a probability.
fully against the Jets. And here at Franchise Tagged, right, we're not locksmiths. We don't pick locks. We lock picks, baby. So let's get into our locks of the week. I thought about that when I was driving home, and I was like, I got to use that somehow.
That's gold.
Yeah.
I'm glad you thought of that.
Yeah. So my lock of the week, and we're just gonna flash them up on the top of the screen. In the future, we may have a little animation that goes over as we pick the lock. But I know you like to make your selection after we've already gone through all of them. You don't have yours predetermined. My lock this,
Nothing. I was just saying. I was making sounds of agreeance. That's all I was.
Okay.
Doing.
Sounds of agreeance. As opposed to Sounds of Agreeing, the Minecraft YouTuber. I have my... All right. 3, 2, 1. My lock of the week is going to be the game in Seattle. Broncos, Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks locked over the Broncos.
All right. Now, this is one that I think you might have been referencing earlier when we had a discussion. You had said that this is a team you don't want to lock week one, because for those unindoctrinated, we do try to lock a different team every single week. I did it the entire last season. He wussed out of that commitment, but
dude, I wussed out at like week 14. All right, give me a break.
I do aim to. I do aim to get the lock out of the way on this team, on a team that I think is best for it. I think that there's only going to be like 3 better opportunities throughout the year for that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to lock the Falcons over the Steelers. That is my lock of the week, trying to really assert my dominance with being 0-1 on the lock category as Kirk Cousins goes ahead and steamrolls the Steelers.
That was not the team I was talking about.
I
understand that being your lock. I was saying I don't want to use it on the Bengals with their matchup over against the Patriots. I don't want to use it that early because I feel like down the line I'm going to want a strong team that I can be like, all right, let me use the strong team this week where there's, Broncos Seahawks could go either way, so it's not really like a lock matchup. But also week 1 is the strangest for locks because we don't know what's going to go on. We don't know how teams are going to mesh, how rookies are going to perform, how new free agent additions are going to perform, new coaches. This is the test run because preseason doesn't tell us that much. Like it tells the organizations a bit, but it doesn't tell fans much about what to expect. I think we covered that pretty well in our preseason news coverage video.
Yeah, that no one saw.
that no one tuned into. More people are tuning into the expansion vid still, so shout out. But
shout out.
Man. Yeah. All right. I think that just about wraps us up here. We're going a little longer than I think either of us expected. We're over an hour recording now, which is again bit more than we expected. But check back with us next week to see how we did on our pick'ems, and let us know who your lock would be this week if you've got one. And what picks of ours that you just wholly disagree with on a fundamental level.
All of our opinions, really, like our favorite teams that we're looking forward to. If you're a rival, just go ahead and send as much hate as you can in the comments below.
Ideally.
It's engagement, so we love it.
Ideally make us regret speaking about that team at all. And then, we'll go from there.
And then we'll just delete your comment.
No, we'll respond to it, and when your favorite team loses, we'll come back to it. If it's like halfway down the season, we'll come back to that video and that comment, and we'll be like, "Ha, your team just lost." I know they're 8-1. I don't
7,
care.
yeah.
They just lost.
They'll be Super Bowl losers, and we'll be like, don't care that they made it there. Nope, they lost. All right. But that is this week's video. Check in next week for our Dumb Down. That'll be coming out next week, and along with the podcast and the segment videos. And, react to the week 1 shenanigans with us in the next episode. And with that, deuces.
Deuces.